Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Tea and Chat. I'm Sharis Alldredge, and this is my sister wife, Vanessa.
Hi.
What is this beautiful tea?
Okay, so today, this one is called Mercedes Apple Spice. It is also from the English tea store. And this is a really nice one. It's a fruit and herbal tisane. So there's no tea in it. It's just an herbal tea with fruit.
It's like a herbal blend.
But it's a really beautiful bright pink color. It has apple, and then it has some spicy notes in it, like cinnamon, cardamom, clove, black pepper, just enough to make it just have that, like an apple pie feel.
Yeah, very much so. It's kind of spicy, but it's sweet. It's really lovely.
Yes. I like to add like a squeeze of fresh lemon to my fruit teas to give them just a touch of sharpness. So it takes it from tasting apple flavor to like tasting like a juicy apple.
Like a crisp apple.
Yeah. So this one's really nice.
It is. That's very lovely. Yeah. It's perfect for this time of year.
It is. Early September, my favorite. Which is also about the time people start thinking about school because that's where they're at.
Yeah.
So we thought it would be a good idea today to talk about homeschooling, why we do it, and what's our approach, and what's our philosophy. I think what would help is to explain where the traditional school system got its roots.
Yeah.
And this is part of the reason why we choose not to participate in it. None of this is criticism to people who are in the system and who are doing their best. Honestly, I get it. I understand. But maybe this might help you to kind of understand where other people are coming from and maybe might enlighten you a little bit. So, Sharis, tell me about the school system and where did it originate?
Well, first off, I want to say I've been working all morning to make this as concise and brief as I possibly can because there is so much great information out there.
She's had a lot of nerd moments where she's like, oh my gosh, let me tell you this. It's so interesting.
Yeah, I'll like chase Jeff down. Jeff, look at this. Look at this quote. Anyway, so I have my notes here, so I'm going to reference them so I don't forget anything. And also so I don't add a whole bunch that I've promised myself I won't. So our current American public school system is based on the Prussian model. Prussia, which is now Germany. And this system was heavily influenced by this Prussian philosopher whose name was Johann Gottlieb Fichte, who, by the way, has been deemed the spiritual father of modern neo-Nazism, but I'm sure there's nothing to be concerned about. The Prussian system was developed with specific goals in mind. To quote Fichte, he said, "The school must fashion the person, and fashion him in such a way that he simply cannot will otherwise than that which you wish him to will." Another quote, "Education should aim at destroying free will, so that after pupils are thus schooled, they will be incapable throughout the rest of their lives of thinking or acting otherwise than their schoolmasters would have wished them. When the technique has been perfected, every government that has been in charge of education for more than one generation will be able to control its subjects securely without the need of armies or policemen." So the Prussian model was designed to squeeze out all independent thinking from the masses and also to train boys for the military. In the 1830s, a man named Horace Mann, who is now known as the father of American education, established this Prussian model in America. Later, other people like John D. Rockefeller got involved and sprinkled in his own agenda. And in short, we just find the public school system to be less than desirable.
Well, its main goal, as is stated in the foundation, is it's not about creating thinkers and it's not about educating, it's about creating a product with our children. The
goal was not the best interest of the individual, it was in the best interest of the government.
Right. I mean, it's essentially an indoctrination camp. Mm-hmm. It's a training camp for their purposes.
Yes.
And, which is very unfortunate because I myself, in my growing up years, have come to know a lot of excellent teachers, people with wonderful hearts and the intention to impart wisdom. And then I have come across those who do not have those intentions. And it's hard, you send your children off to be educated by somebody who you don't know. You don't know what their intent is, what their heart is. And it's kind of it's a gamble.
Yeah. And even if the teacher's heart is in the right place and they really want what's best for the student, they are stuck in a system where they can only do so much.
That's true. Yeah. So all of those reasons add to, and are not limited to, why we've chosen to homeschool our children. Thankfully, in this country, we do have the freedom to choose homeschooling. There are countries where it is not allowed.
Yeah.
So our philosophy on homeschooling is that our goal is to raise free-thinking, independent-minded children who have self-guided learning, who are resilient, who have real-life skills, and who have the ability to adapt to this modern world and display characteristics that make them socially desirable, and to honestly teach them principles of righteousness, godly principles, because that's something that is really not taught directly in the schools, for sure. It's kind of forbidden. So we have the opportunity, because this is God's world and his laws exist alongside everything else. It's not a separate part. It's not a separate class. It pervades everything in this existence. And so we get to teach it in a way that shines that light on everything.
Yeah. Highlights God's hand in the molding and shaping of this world.
Which is the lovely thing about homeschool, is that you can teach through your lens. You can teach the things that you find most valuable, and in a way that you feel is most appropriate for your children and your family and the values that you hold.
Yeah.
I will say, being a homeschooling mom, I don't know that there's any out there who don't feel like they're just inadequate. So I will say that up front. I am not an example to be followed. I don't feel like I'm an example to be followed. I can't tell everyone, oh, here's what I do and you should do it too.
Yeah.
Like, I have those days where I feel like, wow, I don't even know that I'm qualified. I don't feel like I'm doing a good enough job. I just, we have that self-doubt, and I don't think that I'm unique in that. I think that we all go through that.
Yeah.
Because we are an individual with our limitations.
Yeah, I think that one of the beautiful things about homeschool is that you can highlight individuality, but sometimes it's so easy as an individual to see your shortcomings and to be aware of everything you're not doing, everything you should be doing. And it's difficult when you have to place all expectation on your own shoulders instead of putting it out there to other people. It's firmly on your shoulders. It's in your court. Right. And that can be very intimidating.
Well, and especially if you're comparing yourself to, the modern system. 8 hours a day. I don't even know how long it is. It feels like
too long. It's too long.
Hours and hours a day sitting. And then you get each teacher with their specialized viewpoint. And there's no way to recreate that in your home. And that's okay. Once again, going back to the system, it was designed for a purpose that was not teaching children how to think for themselves and how to develop their independent identities and to be free thinkers. And so that's okay. I'm not aiming for that. I'm aiming to teach them how to think for themselves. And a lot of education as they get older is self-guided.
Yeah.
They will, especially if we focus on reading and learning. There's so many resources out there that are excellent. You do not have to look far to stumble across something that is valuable. Yeah,
and the ability to self-educate, to choose anything down the road that they want to work at or learn about, and be able to know how to self-teach, how to look up resources, how to apply themselves to learn a new skill. That's invaluable.
Well, and I will say that even as myself, as I'm teaching or putting together lessons for my kids, I'm learning with them. And thankfully, I as an adult am still, because I know how to learn, I'm still learning. And so this is not just let me teach my children while they're young so that they can be done. Okay, you're done learning.
Yep. Graduated. Bye.
This is a life skill.
Yeah. So over the years, quite a few people have asked us about our curriculum of choice and if there are any established curriculums that we follow. And the answer is no, there isn't. We have a vast majority of curriculums or places that we like to glean resources from. And especially if a child shows particular interest in a subject, then we go hunting. What do we need to teach them this topic? And a lot of curriculums out there are so many fantastic ones, but a lot of them don't cater to the individual needs or learning desires of each child. So we use anything we want and everything we can.
A little bit later on, I think we'll give you a list of some of our favorite resources that you can check into if you're interested. But really, there really is so much out there if you go looking. There's a lot of online options.
Yeah.
There's a lot of curriculums that you can order in book form. And honestly, so much is about reading and taking in literature or anything. So we can mention a little bit later some of the resources that we've found that are really helpful. But honestly, like sometimes I'll sign up for a class that's designed for adults, and I'll let my children sit in on it.
Yeah.
And so it's been really interesting, like to teach them things that I'm learning, or I learn from things that they're learning.
Yeah.
Because we are all seeking out knowledge and understanding, and it's a process that never ends.
Yeah. One of the things I love about homeschool is that it does away with this age-designed learning bracket. It's like you're this many years old, so this is what you're going to learn. And I've never appreciated that. My entire life, people would ask me, or they ask my kids, "What grade are you in?" You tell me what grade you're in, and I will know what you know, what you're learning, everything about you based on
part of your identity.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's not their individual identity. This number that's been assigned to them. So I really appreciate that my kids can learn whatever they want, or whatever I'm teaching them, whatever skill I deem, or whatever level I deem them ready for.
Well, if you think about it, like back in the day, they had one-room schoolhouses. Where they had all age groups in the same room, learning the same subjects at the same time. Now imagine that they catered to each of the children as best they could for what age they were at. But it's natural to be lumped in with different age ranges and abilities and intelligence levels.
Yeah, I cannot remember the exact quote. It goes something along the lines of, you don't truly know something until you can teach it. And in these one-room schoolhouses, frequently the older children were assigned to work with and teach the younger children. And for myself, there's so much I learned growing up that I've completely forgotten. But then when I have to relearn it in order to teach it to my children, it has stuck. And this is part of me now. I know this because I've had to teach it.
Well, what's fun is like I'll have Sebastian, who's, on the earlier side of reading, but I can tell him, go read Chloe a story. And he loves to sit down with her, and he gets to read her the story. So she's getting the experience of being read to. He's getting the experience of reading to her. And it's something that they can share. And he's kind of teaching her in his way. That's really nice.
Yeah, I think it's really, really awesome to be able to cater to the individual child as much as possible.
Yeah. So a typical day for us homeschooling, we start around 8:15 in the morning, which is nice. Honestly, you homeschool, you get to set your hours if that's what works best for you. So that's what works best for us. We start at 8:15. We start with a prayer and group classes, and then after that we split up and do more individualized study. And then, honestly, this year with my oldest son, he's got a job and he's a teenager, so his schedule is more varied. So we've been able to be more flexible. So he's giving me time in the afternoon and then a full day on Tuesday to where we can do some larger group classes and focusing together. And so it's really allowed us to be adaptable to living life. There's so many times where I've been in this situation when I was younger, or I've seen other people, they want to do something with their family, but, oh, sorry, can't miss school.
Yeah.
Required attendance. It's like, what is more important? Making it there to your math lesson, or going with your family to see something that is really interesting.
Yeah, it gives you experience. And something I found very helpful, because I have 5 kids of varying ages, and for years I would try to make time each day to do something individual with each kid. And that turned into like 10 minutes here, 12 minutes here, 5 minutes here. And I didn't feel like I was being able to accomplish what we needed. There's just not a lot you can do in 5 minutes. You have to get set up, and then you have to leave time for cleanup. And so one thing I started doing last year that made a huge difference is on a normal day, I would do my group classes. I would make sure every kid had time to read and write. And then in the afternoons, like on Monday, Chloe gets my entire block of school time in the afternoon. And then on Tuesday, Serenity gets that block. And on Wednesday, Misty gets that block, etc. And I found that we can accomplish so much more in that 1 to 2 hour block of time each week than I could 5 minutes each day. So that's something that has been very, very useful to me, that I've expressed to a few people, and they found that very helpful as well. So if I had to give like a tip for homeschool, conform, make it what you need it to be. It doesn't have to fit the program, doesn't have to fit a model. Make it work for you and your schedule.
So the school can conform to our life and not the other way around, and that's really important to us. I want to make a note of something. Education is not limited to or confined to the classroom. So much of what the kids learn is in everything they do. You can start teaching how to be self-governed by a morning routine, or working with the animals outside, being involved in the butchering process in our house. It is a biology lesson. It is farm life lesson. There's a cooking. Like, there's so much that they learn that is not in a book.
Yeah.
It's just through being involved in our life.
Yeah. They go out and help Jeff build a cabin or work on the sawmill, and they get to use like practical applications for their math lessons. And it's in practical application that these lessons stick. It becomes part of them.
Right. There is there's something that's very important for children too, and it's called free play. And there's a lot of studies showing that children need time to just leave them alone and let them play whatever the heck that they come up with that they want to play. And I remember listening to an interview or talk between Jeff Weinstein and his wife. They were talking about education and how important it is to get out and do. And there is a difference between observing and doing. Yeah. So, for example, watching a sports game versus playing sports. Watching somebody perform music or playing an instrument yourself. Or even watching pornography versus making love to your spouse. Okay, there are very different things, and there is real value in the experience of doing. And so, with our children, it's so important that they get out and they live life. They go out and they interact with the natural world around them, and they can build a tree house. Oh my gosh, we have so many stick forts in our yard.
So many.
I'm so proud of them.
Yeah, I'm like, that is awesome.
They're such eyesores.
but it's awesome. One of my favorite quotes by Mark Twain. He said, "I have never let my schooling interfere with my education." And just along these same lines, book work is important. The ability to sit down and focus on something and learn a skill is important, but so is getting outside and learning things and doing things.
Yeah, that's very important. And so we try to balance what we learn. We sit down and we do book work. You got to sit down and read. You got to sit down and figure out how to do math. And, sometimes it's boring. Sometimes it's not. But it's nice to be able to balance that out with getting outside and interacting with the world, because there's multiple different kinds of intelligence. There's people hear about it all the time, book smarts versus street smarts. You want to have a mind that, maybe you're not good at math, but there's also value in emotional intelligence, learning how to regulate yourself, how to process emotions and conduct yourself in a way that is pleasant to be around. And then there's also a physical intelligence. How do you move your body? Our spirits are housed in our bodies, and it's important for us to develop our spiritual intelligence and our bodily intelligence, our emotional intelligence. And, it's so far and wide. It is not this narrow tunnel that we have to follow down. Like, this world is full of mysteries, full of inspirations, and let's not lose touch with that. Yeah. So some of the resources that we have found very helpful are a mix of online courses, books, videos, etc. And this is by no means exhaustive, because there's so much good stuff out there. Yeah. But here are a few things that we've enjoyed.
ABECA, as a curriculum, has a lot of good stuff. I don't love all of their things, but when it comes to science and like the earlier years of math and language, I love ABECA, and I would recommend that. When it comes to reading, I think the best thing that we've found and implemented is a book called Teaching Your Children to Read in 100 Easy Lessons.
Teach your child to read in 100 easy lessons.
Teach your child, yes. And do you remember who wrote that?
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, look it up. That one I like because I've taught my younger kids to read through that, and I don't feel like I'm a good teacher very much. And so that one is really nice because honestly, it gives you, as the parent, teacher, a script. Yeah. You literally don't have to create anything. You go through it verbatim and you walk through it with your child, and at the end of the book, they can basically read. Yeah. And it's really amazing, and it's a really nice resource, and it takes the stress and the thinking out of it.
Yeah.
Just go through it.
So easy.
Yes.
Another book I would recommend for parents who are starting to look into homeschooling, who want to teach, is a book by John Milton Gregory called The 7 Laws of Teaching. Super good book. Lots of really great information in there.
One thing that we do with our kids is we'll let them watch the Tuttle Twins.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we'll start early in the day with that, kind of get them kind of relaxed and like entertained.
Yeah, it's like one of our group classes every day is an episode of the Tuttle Twins.
Yeah, and so this is put together by Connor Boyack, who also has a lot of other information out there, a lot of other school-related books, history books.
Mm-hmm.
They're excellent. They're really good resources. What's lovely about the way he teaches these classes, and even the Tuttle Twins, I as an adult have really appreciated them.
They're so good. They're for all ages.
They are. So he takes a lot of complicated ideas and is able to explain them on a child's level. And
which is
sometimes
hard.
We as adults need things on a child's level. So I remember as a teenager reading The Law by Frederick Bastiat, and it touched me so deeply. Like, it was so stimulating to me, and it's been very exciting. I'm like, I can't wait till my kids are older and I can start reading this with them. But they touch on it in the Tuttle Twins, and they explain the concepts, and so even our 5-year-old can watch and understand whatever a 5-year-old's going to get out of it, because so can our 12-year-old and our 17-year-old. And so there's something for everybody.
Yeah, and our 30-plus-year-olds.
Yes.
They're fantastic. Love the Tuttle Twins.
Yes. And he has some other good books. In particular, last year I went through his book about logical fallacies with my kids. What's funny is I got Sebastian, who was 10 at the time, coming back to me and be like, "Oh, I noticed this logical fallacy right here," and he'll quote to me the fallacy and he'll explain it, and I'm just like, "Wow, it's like that.
Very nice. I'm doing a good job."
Yeah. So, and honestly, I feel like for me, there is such a wealth in just read everything you can get your hands on, and then discuss. That's where a lot of information gets understood, is in the discussions afterward. Like I've noticed too in our adult book clubs, like when Sharis and I will get together and we read a variety of books, I notice that when we read classics, the conversation that comes from those is always so much deeper and more interesting, because there's a lot of layers of lessons to be learned and things to understand. Yeah,
like character development. It's like there's so much to discuss and to pick through. And
they're classics for a reason.
They've lasted the test of time.
Yeah. So I would highly recommend classic literature. Don't ever forget Winnie the Pooh. It's one of the greatest books out there.
It's important.
Also, I've really appreciated Khan Academy. There's classes that my kids are taking on Khan Academy that I love. And in fact, there's a couple classes that I'm taking because I just want to. Sounds interesting. And it's been really fun. So, I don't know. Is there anything else you can think of off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, no.
So, that's it. People have asked why we homeschool and how we do it. So, I hope that touches on some of our philosophy and a little bit of our approach to things. Yeah, if you have any more questions, leave them in the comments.
Also leave some links in the comments to some YouTube videos that if you want to look more at like the Prussian model or John D. Rockefeller, that you can. It's a very fascinating rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, and I hope to see you next week.
Thank you.